Hello guys, Forristicat here. Today I wanted to talk about the season 8 of Dexter, which just premiered, I think, yesterday in the United States. Being as the last season of Dexter, it means that all of the plot points, all of the storylines are going to start slowly winding up. And I think that even though a TV show may have had its ups and downs, and certainly with Dexter has definitely had more downs than ups. Nevertheless, a final season for any TV show gives, I guess, all creators to sort of, ignore all the sort of crappier, less than positive seasons, from season 1 to whatever season they're finishing on, and it gives them an opportunity to go out with a blast, have some unexpected plot twist to sort of end, I guess, on some theme or sort of moment that they hopefully envisioned if it's a good TV series from the start. So just to get that out there, overall Dexter is not a good TV show. So I think I've got a couple of other sort of Dexter sort of videos up here on talkbackworld.net. Unfortunately, it's suffered what many other TV shows have suffered, which is the first couple of seasons very interesting. Then after that, there was no sort of real interesting storylines happening. So it was more or less just a wash, rinse and repeat. So you've had your sort of like villain of the whole season, and they touched upon him having sort of a child, which is of course important. He's born in blood as well, so his legacy is apparently going to be continued over to his son. But the main draw card, and I think I mentioned this on a previous video, is that his sister finally has found out that he is a serial killer, and that was sort of like the major thing I was looking forward to. I was like, okay, yes, it's had some crap seasons, in between. So once this happens, hopefully it's going to ignite a fire under the Dexter's storyline's ass, and actually have some sort of quality storyline come as a result. Unfortunately, and this is something I mentioned in a previous talkback, they blew over that very, very quickly. And like I said in that previous talkback, it's like a major plot point like that gets revealed. Dexter's sister finds out that he's a serial killer, and the next scene, like, she's making, there were a couple of scenes down the track, she's making like spaghetti bolognese for him, and everything is sort of like ho-hum, well not ho-hum, but like, given her nature of the amount of trauma that she's been in, it's really unrealistic that she's gonna sort of have any sort of like reaction like that. If anything, she'll be like in a sort of mental sort of institution, like after she found out that her brother is a serial killer. So right from that setup, it's just unpractical. So I can't suspend my disbelief that much. I guess what else I can say is that the actors are only as good as their writing. Batista, that actor is, I can't remember him from Oz. Desmond Harrington, apparently he must have like some sort of clause in his contract, like he must have sex with like a certain amount of hot women per episode or something, because right here in this season opener he's like having sex with Batista's sister. So presumably that's going to lead to some sort of plot point further down the line. I remember like last season, like there was some sort of plot point of him sort of getting into sort of like the illegal sort of drugs with the getting sort of becoming like a bad cop with this stripper, this and that. I don't really care for Desmond's character much anymore. It seems boring, seems like a waste of time. I guess Masuka he's a very funny character, of course. He seems like he's also like a wasted opportunity. Batista, well, now that Maria LaGuardia is out of the way, he doesn't really. He's like a very sort of likable, like down to earth character. He also doesn't seem to serve any purpose. Of course, his father's been a mentor throughout this whole thing, which has been very interesting throughout. A good sort of plot plot narrative device that they can rely on time and time again. However, I guess this is my main point of my Talkback World video here, is that in terms of the story they try to implement here, the source material, darkly dreaming Dexter, and his sister Deborah in the book apparently knows from the very start that he's a serial killer. The sort of falling, or how Dexter went downhill, is that the source material is actually pretty good, or not rather the source material, but the themes of the source material. So, like I said before, the sort of crux of the storyline, which is having like a serial killer which is likable, holds two very sort of incongruent concepts storytelling wise, and somehow like gels them together. So you see him like offering donuts to people. He's very likable. Sure, like he can't express emotion and stuff, but you can actually sort of like imagine him. You can imagine going out with him and sort of having some sort of. Okay, actually no, you can't imagine that. The point is they do a good job of showing him as a dad and stuff like that, and he's also like a serial killer. So it sort of messes with your head a little bit. Like, okay, he's doing all this killing, and he's a dad. And of course, the scene in the season opener that I did yesterday, where he's like holding his son, and he's got like blood. He's trying not to touch his son. That's pretty disturbing. Also, Deborah. I just realized this now. I can't believe I haven't realized this earlier. But you know what? Like, I'm just over all her swearing. Pretty much like every single scene now is like, Dexter, what the fuck? Fucking hell, Dexter! And she's like, like tensing up, and she's like, starting to cry. And she's like, fucking hell, I can't do it. She's like just a complete emotional wreck. I'm like, hold on a second. Yes, that may be good acting, but if you're doing it in every single scene, you're so used to it, it's not really good acting because you're not showing your range. It's become boring. And given this is the final season of Dexter, and it looks like the shit's gonna hit the fan with this psychological profiler woman who apparently knows his history. It looks like she's gonna have many more scenes like that, unfortunately. And just as a sort of prediction, I guess, which I wanted to get out there, Dexter pretty much has to die. How is he gonna die? The only impactful way, in my opinion, is for him to be on the sort of table that he's laid so many times before for all these serial killers that he's killed, and for him to be wrapped up and for someone to stab him. Who else can that be but Deborah? Who else? I haven't read the books, I'm not too sure, but that if I was writing it and they gave me this spaghetti bolognese of plots, some good but mostly bad, and said, okay, James, how would you end this? Okay, like I said, the themes are very good. Like, I like the religious theme. I sort of like the whole sort of moral ambiguity, like, is it ever right to kill someone? That was interesting. And him as a father, Harry and his code, these are all very interesting themes. It's just that they've milked these themes too much, and they should never have made this 8 seasons worth, and so they've stretched it out. It's become diluted, whereas 3 or 4 seasons should have sufficed, with the finale season being season 4, without all these like unnecessary villain of the season, seasons in between, which has just made Dexter very boring in between. And now I guess they're trying to tie up all these plot points together, and it looks like they're sort of rushing, and I don't think it's going to come together very well. Just from the series trailer at the end of the Showtime episode, if you watch it, it shows the whole preview for the whole season, and already you can tell it looks very disjointed. It feels like you've already seen the whole season. You can sort of predict what's going to happen. And you know what? Whenever you can sort of predict what's going to happen through the trailer, and it feels like you already watched the whole series or a whole movie or played a whole video game just from the trailer, it's done a bad job. That there's no intrigue sort of created. It's predictable. Your emotions aren't going to be engaged, and it's going to be like a lackluster season, or not a good video game, or just a boring, unengaging movie. And I can tell that this is going to be the case with Dexter, which is a shame. And like I said, I wouldn't have been bothered to put out these video reviews of Dexter because it is sort of like a B movie show, as I joke. But, visually it's great, it's fantastic. All the actors and actresses, of course, are very good looking. The color coordination especially is very nice in Miami. It's fantastic directing. But you know what? We need better sort of implementation of these interesting story bases which are actually there, which it's just a shame that they've gone to waste, because I could have seen a lot of more ways that they could have actually implemented all these storylines and interesting themes and sort of moral questions that the TV show raises, which is a world few and far between this and homicide, life on the street, who takes a very, very serious look at homicide, of course. So having said all that, the final theme which is being introduced here is the theme of the psychology of a killer. Once again, I think that this is a great theme, especially for a final season. Like, what actually makes the mind of a like a psychopath? They don't show any empathy, they don't care about anything, they don't like feel other people's emotions. I remember like the last time I heard something like this was in like Taking Lives, I think, with Ethan Hawke and Angelina Jolie and Kiefer Sutherland. So I think it's a great idea to sort of get under Dexter's skin and sort of actually make us think, okay, what actually does make a serial killer? Is it ever right to kill someone? Where's the line drawn? And apart from what I just mentioned before of how I would end the series personally, with Dexter being killed by Deborah, I just want to see Dexter I guess in a similar way, I want to see Donald Draper go in a downward spiral, not because like I'm a sadist or anything, but purely like if they're going to take it to the extreme, they may as well go all out. Have Dexter go on some like crazy killing rampage or something like that. But yeah, that's what I have to say. Okay, so in summary, final season of Dexter, I can tell it's going to be a sloppy one, unless they really surprise me, which I doubt it. Interesting themes. They're based upon the source material and darkly dreaming Dexter, like a semi-likable serial killer. With his son, you see his like family life, stuff like this. He's killing serial killers. Does that make it right? Is killing ever right? And introducing some things of like religion, life after death, whether it's okay to take someone's life, whether you can be a father, and like the code which has been instilled upon by his father. Is it okay to kill someone if they're going to kill someone that you love? How far does a sort of moral slippery slope go? From Dexter's handle of his blade, to the drip of the blood, as he probably gets stabbed by his sister in the final scene of what I predict to be the final episode, final scene, closing cut of Dexter Morgan season 8. That's it, guys. Forristicat out.